order tonight. I'm glad to see everyone here. If we'll stand for the pledge and the invocation, please. Linda?
Heavenly Father, we come before your mighty throne of grace and love. We're thankful, Master, for who you are in our lives. Direct and keep us in your care. Bless those, dear Lord, who are in need of a blessing tonight. Then guide us into the business of this board that it might be pleasing to you, dear Lord. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get the meeting started, I'd like to, Mark Ross, his son, his house got just not destroyed, but hurt in the tornado in Little Rock, so that's where Director and Steve is under the weather and not quite sure where Reggie is, but we're missing him, but we're glad to have everyone here tonight, so we'll get started. If you were to view the minutes of the March 21st meeting, like y'all carried on without me. Appreciate Tiffany for taking care of it.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll move on to item 5, which is a concession stand bids.
Yes, sir. If you remember, the last board meeting, we had this on we had the bids on the agenda for you, and it was tabled, and y'all desired to discuss the wording of the lease. And so this is really tonight. I accidentally left the same title in the item 5, but if you look on your agenda item, that should have been the title. So here's the lease language. It's identical on Kelly Fields and soccer fields except for number 8. And I have both number 8s down there. So we brought this to the board as y'all directed.
Okay. I think one of the questions I had from the weeks before was how often they're open, because we had the problem with the last leaser that wasn't open at all, even at some of the tournaments. So is there anything put in here to talk about when they're open or anything to?
That is vague, and number 8, if you look at number 8, it kind of addresses that, but it's open. It says lessee may open the concession stand.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have any requirements to open. Number 8, lessee may open the concession stand during Kelly Complex use.
But then under 10, it says must be open for each event scheduled at the complex.
Let's see. Each lessee will be a 3-year term if awarded the lessee. The concession stand must be open for each event scheduled at the specific complex. Yes, it does. That I stand corrected.
Yeah. Well, one of my problems is there's really no. What do we do if they don't stay open? I mean, it's. Like I say, the last person at least, it was hit and miss. You just never, and I'm talking about tournament play. I'm talking about weekend play. It was hard to know when they was gonna be there and not. The board have any idea how to address that, or we just want to leave it vague and hope they'll stay open for tournaments and stuff like that? I think we've been fortunate through the years. I think for many years it was open pretty well every time there was something going on down there. But
Since that is a concern, let's look at 10. I mean, we can always not include 8. But let's look at the language in 10, if that would cover what we needed. Because I think we're saying that if there are activities, we need that concession stand open. Is that what we're saying?
That's what it reads.
That's what I said in 10. I like 10. There's no reason for it not to be, is there?
But there are no consequences in this.
yeah, that's what I'm.
if they're not open.
Okay.
So
It'd be
it's
a
like,
breach of contract.
Mhm.
We just gotta decide
I don't know.
how it's handled once there is.
And I think you may wanna, there could always be a technical breach for a very legitimate reason, right? Someone
Right.
could have a family emergency that can't open. And I think, the park could be left to try to make that determination. But yes, if the person's just not doing it on a consistent basis, or there's no emergency, if they're in violation of the lease, I think we can just say, hey, look, we're canceling the lease, we're moving on in another direction. Summer, you also studied, I asked you to look around, you called some other parks. Some parks do it themselves, some parks do it all through association, some parks do lease like we do. Do you wanna share with the board what you learned from calling around?
I called around to several different towns, and each town was different on how they handled it. I talked to Nashville first. They buy all the product their parks department does, and their employees work it. So they didn't specify they pay overtime or flex time. They just said employees work it, and they keep all the product on site. They store it in their facilities. Arkadelphia, same with them. They buy the product, but they hire outside to run it. They hire what they call a concession stand manager, and they come in and run it just for those seasons. Big Queen has kind of what we have with our other two concession stands. The Baseball Association runs theirs. So, I mean, each town was different, and I can see the pros and cons in each of them. So.
And can you explain to the board that all of our concession stands aren't leased like this? Could you explain to them?
Correct. We have two concession stands, the one at Lady Cat Field and the one at Kiwanis Field that the Baseball and the Softball Association runs. Now, they supply all the product for those concession stands, and they keep the profits for those concession stands. Those profits go to cover umpire fees, uniforms, and other needs that we need at the fields, just to keep the cost on registration fees down. They help buy dirt each year. Whatever we need, they pitch in and help us at the Parks Department too. So it's been that way as long as I've been here and before my time. So.
The only two fields we really lease like this are Kelly
And it's soccer.
and soccer. And really, I guess what drives Kelly, it is probably our most used field in terms of tournament play.
It's, yes, tournament play, and it's mostly just used on the weekends as far as that, so.
And it's not necessarily benefiting one league like a baseball association. People are coming all over. Individuals may put on a tournament and make money or support a cause. So it's a little different.
They're playing there right now.
Yes, we did have the Lady Cat Field is parked tonight, so we had to move to Kelly Field. That's just one of those circumstances we had to do tonight since we have rain coming, so.
When high school uses Lady Cat, and that's their home field,
Yes.
and when they use Legion, that's their home field, the high school mans the concession stands,
Lady
or the
Cat,
Booster
yeah.
Club.
The Booster Club does Legion Field. We, since we signed the MO with Legion Field, we have nothing to do with that field. So their Booster Club runs their concession stand. Now, Lady Cat is still gonna be our softball association. Our Little League runs it for the high school, just, they didn't wanna mess with it, so.
And that helps them to make money to support their leagues and pay their umpires. And all the money's handled, and what you're talking about there, all the money's handled by the associations. We're not involved in that at
Correct,
all.
we have no idea what goes on there as far as money wise, so, I mean, that's strictly theirs. They have their own bank account and treasurer, and they have the whole board, so.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we can just get Summer to monitor. If it starts being a problem, we can ask them to come in and
Yeah, it's
let's
break
talk
of
about how we
contract,
can,
and then we would visit with them.
yeah, just visit with them, and, if we have to change, we will.
Yeah, so I'd make the motion that we award the contract to the high bid of Arnetta Bradford.
Yes, she was the high bid on both.
Okay.
The 3-year contract. Now, is that paid annually?
Annually.
It's
Okay.
paid annually. It's supposed to be paid by December 31st each year.
It's,
500 is what her bid was
Yes, Ornetta's was 500 for both
per year.
per year.
language number 1, to be paid on or before the first day of January of each year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, there's a motion to award the bid to Ms. Bradford for both concession stands at $500 a piece or $500
Per year.
per year
Or concession stand.
per concession stand, so, okay, yeah. $500.
Second.
There's a motion and second from Ms. Bradford. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, okay. All right, we'll monitor that and see how it goes. Okay, item 6, the housing authority.
I did receive an email from Ms. Graves, and they did appoint a new commissioner to their commission. Her name is Stephanie Espinoza. As you know, this is to fill a vacant position of Mr. Knowles. As you know, their appointment is subject to confirmation by this board, and so that's the person they presented to the board for y'all's consideration for confirmation.
Okay, is there a motion to approve this appointment? I need discussion first, but we really don't have any authority to change.
You have the authority not to approve it?
Over there.
You do. This is subject to your confirmation.
And then they provide another name.
They'd have to find another name. My understanding is Stephanie is, I think, a local accountant, CPA, has a
Yeah,
business in our town, worked for Bill Tollison,
Mhm.
and I think she lives in the city. I'm not sure about that. Somebody asked me if that was a requirement. I can't find a statutory requirement that says it, but even though the board can require it, I mean, the board could say, hey, it's our housing authority, we want it to people to live in the city. But she has a business here, and I believe she lives in town, but I'm not sure.
I'll make a motion to approve Stephanie
Second.
Espinoza.
Okay, motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, moving on to the item 7.
Ms. Brown, you're here just in time. I'll call Ms. Brown to the podium, and she's gonna talk to us, today about a Juneteenth celebration she'd like to, share with the board and the citizens.
Good evening, good evening. Certainly as we head into, Easter week, peace and blessings to everybody. Hopefully you all, received the attachments that I shared with, the city manager. If not, then we could certainly follow up with you.
They did not, and I apologize about that.
Okay. Quite all right. Well, thank y'all for allowing me to come forward. I am Sylvia Brown, a neighbor in Fulton, but certainly a community member that is not unfamiliar with the Hope Board of Directors. So you all remember that last year, Visibility Outreach Touch Engage South Arkansas came before the board for 2022 Juneteenth. Mayor Steele came out to participate with us as well, and we are this year stepping forward to do even more and better. Last year we had the 2-mile parade route from historic Henry C. Yerger Museum to the Northside Park. This year, being 2023, marks the 160th anniversary of the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. And so it's fitting that we as Vote SOAR and the Community Collective move forward to do more and again do better here in Hempstead County. One of the aspects that we are planning to do with the Juneteenth is to have a reception at Washington. We know the history of Washington being connected to the Bowie knife, also being the Arkansas capital of the Confederacy. However, it is little known that Washington was also the Southwest Field District site for the Freedmen's Bureau, which provided a key resource to formerly enslaved and free African Americans as they began to integrate into the society. And so what we are aiming to do with our Juneteenth activities for this year is to reestablish the Black community within the fabric of Hempstead County. And key again is that the celebration with the parade, with the fest, and also with the extension of activities at the Historic State Park. We also had a awesome event last year that was a bit ad hoc, but thanks to Marsha White, we had Katie Flannery share some of the awesome history of African Americans in the history again of Hempstead County. And so we're coming before the board today to continue to get that support for having the parade, and not just the verbal support, but continued moving forward in partnership, because as a number of folks you see on other jurisdictions have incorporated more cooperatively the aspect of Juneteenth within their own celebrations, within their own jurisdictions. And so growing to not just be a citizen-led activity, but something that's incorporated within our community government processes. So that is what I'm here to work with you all on, is the approval, visibility, activity with Juneteenth for this year. And I will be following up with you and other members of Vote SOAR, because this activity, if we want to be bigger and better, it will take sponsorships. And so we will be engaging with the Hope Tourism Commission, with you all as board members, to join us as a sponsor in one of our three categories: our Black Futures category of $500, our Carter G. Woodson Pioneers category of $175, or our Freedom Fighters category of $50. So we want to again continue to lay a foundation and emphasizing the African American community as key parts of the fabric of Hempstead County. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
Any questions of Ms. Brown?
I was trying to remember if we did something for the parade last year, if we approved the route or something, or did we do anything with that?
All they gotta do is go through the police department. The police department will approve the route for them, and the police department will make an assessment of what they need to keep people safe, and once the chief moves forward with it, we're good to
There
go.
you go, good, great, great.
In that packet of materials, is there a schedule of events?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have been in touch with is it Lieutenant Coronado?
Yes.
I can't remember his title, but yeah, I've been in touch with Lieutenant Coronado as well. I also reached out to Darryl with GIS office to get a better map of the park, because we again want to be better and have improved vending. So we want to make sure that those parking does not interfere with some of the activities. So trying to get a bird's eye view so we can mark off where parking, where vending, things of that nature will be.
Great, any other questions? It was a big event last year, maybe it'll be a little cool.
Right.
I mean, it was hot last year. My goodness, the snow cones went very well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8.
Yes, I'll ask Chief Tomlin to come to the podium. We're gonna ask the board to consider a waived bid ordinance to purchase the A1 talk groups. If y'all remember, y'all approved us to make a grant application to the Arkansas Department of Emergency Management for their public safety communication grant. We were awarded about $135,917 to do this. Part of that money, not all of it, but part of it is to program 2 talk groups on the AWIN radio system. This is a sole source, only Adam can do it. You can't get it anywhere else. It's just part of their network. You have to pay them the $40,000, and then within a couple of days, they have your talk groups on the system. And then we can buy our radios and get a program to those talk groups and be ready to go. But this is the first step, and Chief Tomlin's here to talk to you about it.
And you just stole all the thunder.
I'm sorry.
Whatever he,
So they've approved it, and now they want their money.
yeah, whatever he said.
Yeah. The Arkansas Interoperable Communications Executive Committee did approve our 2 talk groups, and they are just waiting on us to send them some money, and They'll get them assigned. I'm understanding that that won't take but a day or two to get done, a day or two or a week, and then we'll start looking for bids and things for radios. So this may actually go a lot faster than what I originally thought it would. So I'm excited.
Explain a little bit the two talk groups. Is that like two
Like, think of it like two channels,
Yeah.
channels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
but they're not channels in this kind of system. They call them talk groups. Daryl may explain it better. I don't know.
So we currently are working off of one talk group that we've had for a really long time, and we kind of all, it's a secondary system for us right now, and our sheriff's department uses it quite a bit because it gets better coverage in some of the outermost areas of our county. Our city uses it occasionally, but mostly we stay on the frequency that we've had for so many years. And what we're hoping to do is just make it where everybody, with the two talk groups, they can be connected if we want to, if we want to, or they can switch back. Every radio will have it'll be 3 talk groups now. And one we're going to use for city law enforcement or for all law enforcement, city and county. And the other we're going to use, fire department's going to use city fire. And then the one that we're using now will be left with rural fire. And eventually everybody will get all 3 talk groups in their radios, and we can use any of the channels. So big events, special events, any kind of mutual aid, we'll be connected, and we could talk to state police. They're already using the system as a primary system. So is Game and Fish, several, Pafford's got AWIN, so it'll just make it where we can all flip a channel and speak.
So is this a one-time fee? I mean, it's,
The talk groups, I'm understanding, is a one-time fee, yes, yes.
Unless you want to buy more. In the future, if you decide to buy more, there's no.
If you
There's
keep
not an
adding
annual-
radios,
No
no
annual.
annual fees with,
It's funded. AWIN at first wasn't funded through the state when it was first built. That was everybody's problem. Years down the road, it finally got some funding of its own. It's able to replace its own equipment, and that's the value of cities getting on the system. They charge you to get on the system, but once you get on, the state maintains the towers, they maintain the repeaters, they maintain the microwave, backhauls, they do it all. So there's no other fee to us, at least at this point.
unless we started adding a whole bunch of radios, I think, maybe some.
There's
things would change.
always a cost if you add radios. If you overpower your existing system and you have to make your system bigger, then you'd have to pay that. For example, Hot Springs. Hot Springs got on AWIN, but they didn't have coverage. They had to actually build a tower. Well, they had to pay the cost of building that tower. But once they built it and put the equipment on it, AWIN takes it over. They don't have to maintain it. They don't have to fix it. For the years to come, it becomes under the state at that point.
but we're good on towers.
Yeah, we just used it. We don't have to build a tower. We're really close to an existing tower, and that's when you make your request to what you want to do, it goes through this group called Communications Unit Group, ComU, and they study your plan, and they're all the thinkers, and they say, well, if you're going to do what you say, you got to do X, Y, Z. They'll tell you what you got to do. For us, all we have to do is pay them the $40,000. They'll add the top groups, and we're good to go. We don't have to add a tower or anything.
And our grant, remember the grant's paying,
Right.
well, the city's got a chunk too, 25%.
25%.
So it's not completely free, but it is a good deal. if
So the
this
top
is
groups,
something we're gonna do.
top groups cost us $10,000. It's $40,000.
Yeah.
The state would pay the 30. And this is the first time they've ever done this kind of grant. Never done this before. So it's a new thing.
That's a good deal because I remember through the years, we've always been working on towers,
Yeah.
electric lighting or something, or something.
Batteries,
Yeah,
after
batteries.
a couple times the batteries.
Yeah, so, be good to get this off our menu. Any other questions from the board, or is there a motion?
Here's an ordinance.
There's an ordinance on this one, huh? Sorry, I didn't even see it. There it is. Thank you, Tiffany.
All right, this is an ordinance being titled an ordinance to waive the requirement of competitive bidding as required by Arkansas Code Annotated 1458-303 for purchase of 2 AWIN talk groups. Whereas the City Board of Directors has determined that an exceptional situation exists to purchase 2 AWIN talk groups for police use, and that it is not feasible or practical to seek competitive bids because AWIN talk groups are sole source and can only be purchased from the Arkansas Department of Emergency Management. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Directors of the City of Hope, Arkansas, Section 1, the Board of Directors of the City of Hope, Arkansas hereby determines that the requirement for competitive bidding for the purchase of 2 A-Win talk groups is deemed not feasible or practical and is thereby waived, and there is an urgent need for the City of Hope to obtain said talk groups for implementation and use by the Hope Police Department, Hope Fire Department. Section 2, this action being necessary for preservation of public peace, health, and safety in emergencies hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage and approval.
Okay, is there a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Sorry, we were talking over here. Motion's to adopt?
So move.
Second. Aye.
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 Emergency clause.
Make a motion to adopt the emergency clause. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you. Passed. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Item 9.
Okay, this is what I told you we'd be bringing to you, kind of the beginning of our discussions of understanding of our current wastewater rates. As you know, we will probably need to do some kind of work in the future. That could be a near future, a year or two down the road, something the board will have to make a decision on. And it'll be fairly expensive. But I wanted to at least start talking about this, and I wanted to begin by just showing you how the current rate structure works, what it generates, what our expenses are, and also point out some non-conforming things with our law that maybe we need to get with Randy on to see how we need to go about and get this corrected. So if I can, I'll start with this is paragraph number 3 on your first page, and it says current law in a nutshell. So this is the city ordinance in a nutshell. When a person pays for their sewer rate, when they pay for their sewage, it comes on their Hope Water and Light bill. Every customer has to pay $10.50. That's every customer pays it, and the ordinance calls that the debt service. That's meant to help cover debt service through our bonds and things. Now it doesn't totally cover all of debt service, but it is meant to help debt service. So all users pay $10.50. After that, users pay $2.75 per 1,000 gallons. So that's how much you pay, $2.75 per 1,000 gallons. That would equate to 0.00275 per gallon. And there's basically 2 kinds of users. There are what we call metered users and non-metered users. I'll kind of explain how that practically works out a little bit. So let's say you're a metered user. You got a meter to your house. You got your water meter. And it's important to know that the meter is on your water usage, what you're buying from Hope Water and Light. It's turning the dial as you use gallons of water. And that's how Hope Water and Light knows what to charge you for your uses of water. All that water inside your house theoretically ends up in a sink, in a toilet, in a bathtub, in some drain that ends up running into our sewer system. So, in theory, you may say that every gallon of water used on your water meter turns into a gallon used in your sewer meter. But that's not always accurate, right? We know that you may water your lawn. And if you water your lawn, that's not running through your sewer. We know that you may fill a pool. That's water that won't run through your sewer. We know that sometimes people may have a really bad leak, and that's not running into the sewer. It's running out on the ground somewhere. Unless the leak is in your toilet, then it's running through the sewer, or in your shower or something. So in terms of the meter, it'll never be an exact number where we charge for all your metered water, that's what you're getting charged for sewer. That's not the way it works. Even though it could be. If you don't water your yard and you don't fill a pool and you don't have leaks, yeah, that's gonna be about right. That's gonna be what you get charged. So the way we handle, since we don't have meters on our wastewater that's flowing out, we don't have meters on those. How we handle this is if a person says, hey, JR, I water my lawn, I got a sprinkler system. Well, the way we've typically handled that is we have a historical process. This is not in the code, but it's been what we've done historically. We usually use the months of October, November, December to calculate your average use, and then we charge you that average use every month, as opposed to when you're watering your yard or filling your pool or something of that nature, or if you had a bad leak. And any citizen can come to us, let's say you have a really bad water bill, and you come to us and say, I had a leak, we can adjust that, and we do adjust that at times. So if we see what your average use, and it goes, maybe you're using 2,000 gallons, 2,000, 2,500, 22, and all of a sudden you use 100,000 gallons, obviously we know you had a leak. And we'll try to work with the citizen on that. Because we know that leak probably didn't run into our sewer system. It's probably ran out on the ground somewhere because a line broke or whatever happened. So basically, so you have these houses that have meters. Well, then you have apartment complexes. And apartment complexes may have master meters. And that means they have 1 meter for the whole complex. And the individual units don't have meters. So the way that has kind of worked typically is that every individual in an apartment is charged the $10.50. And we know, and Hope Water and Light's able to charge them because they have an electric usage. They're an electric customer. So they get charged that $10.50. But they don't get charged the water. The water gets charged to the apartment complex business as a commercial user. And they end up paying that. Now, the way they can recover that is in their lease. They can calculate, this cost me this much of water, my lease is gonna go up a little bit, or they could have some language in the lease about that if they wanted to. It's really kind of up to the business to do that. Would you show that, Daryl, would you show that there's that January slide? And if you also have I put a packet, if you turn into your packet, there's not in your main agenda packet, but another packet I put beside you. Yeah, right there, Miss Kiffany has it, right there, that table right there, Miss Kiffany was looking at. Yeah. So, as you can see, can I stand up? Would it be okay if I stand up and point to something? Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
So, for example, here's houses, residential that are metered. Here's the number of customers. If you multiplied $10.50 by that, you're going to come up with that number. That's what everybody pays. Then if you take this many gallons of water and you multiply it by the 0.00275, you come up with that number. And that's how you get to this number. And this is Hope Water and Light's chart. And you may say, well, why is it $6 off? Well, I'm doing a calculation on the whole number, and they do it on every individual. So the decimal places are just different. So but this is going to be an accurate charge. And this is how I can see it's an accurate charge. The apartments, here's where the master meter come in. They have their customers. Say, for example, the apartments on master meters have 188 residents there. Each resident got charged $10.50. That's what they paid, 1974. But you notice the residents doesn't pay for the gallons of water usage because they don't have a meter to their apartments. So they just paid $19.75, and my calculation came to $19.74. But again, that's just a minor. It could be that one customer was on 1 month, one customer wasn't, or how that worked out. I'm not gonna worry about the dollar. The commercial rate is very similar. So all that water, you say, well, there's water running through there, and yeah, but this group's paying it. So you got 564 commercial. Some of these are apartment complex businesses. They all pay, there's 564 of them, they all pay $10.50. And then that's the gallons of water they use, times this, comes up to this. and that's what it comes out to. So this is a very accurate, this is a very common way everything works, and it's very accurate. What is not accurate, and this is what we call housing authority non-conforming rate, and this is what we need to talk about. And this is always, my understanding, this has been this way for a long time. Why it's this way, I don't know. But in the housing authority, for some reason, years and years ago, they were never charged for their water usage. They pay you can see 44 residents, it calculates to 462 for 1050. They paid $392. There were 70 residents, calculates to 735, they paid $619. Nobody pays for the water. Here's the gallons of water used, but it's not getting paid by anyone. This is where it's getting the actual, what Hope Water Light charges. Can you scroll up just a little bit? So that's good right there. So right there. So that's Hope Water Light's charges, and that's what we collect. But if someone was paying for the gallons used, this would be the amount we should collect. But Housing Authority is not paying that amount. And so right now, in my opinion, the City of Hope's we're really kind of out of compliance with our own law. Now, that's the way it's always been, though. So that's something I think the board's gonna have to kind of consider and think about. Maybe you want to write this into the law because we know these are our most vulnerable people. I did a quick calculation. Let's say every resident, these 228 residents had to pay that extra $5,000. It'd be around 20, I think it came out to about $20 a person, $20.67. If the Hope Housing Authority as a business paid it, they'd be paying, instead of $2,586, they would have paid $7,254, $4,700 and something more. If they paid that $4,700 more, they could put in their contract that, hey, maybe every person has to pay $10 or $20 as a part of their lease to cover the water. I don't know, that's really a board decision. I just wanted to tell you, here's the facts, here's what's happening. It doesn't really conform to our ordinance. Our ordinance doesn't speak to this, but this is what's happening. And then the last category you need to understand, if you scroll up a little bit, Daryl, to this last category. The other category is what we have called fixed charges. Now, the ordinance doesn't really speak to this, but I'll tell you how this happened too. What happened was, let's just take Hexion. Let's take Smith's Ready Mix, for example. They have water out there. They pay for their water to Hope Water and Light. They're using this amount of gallons. Then you say, well, why are they only paying $121? Because most of the water is going into concrete trucks. Really, all they have that's going into our sewer is probably a bathroom and a sink. So at some point, when the business began, a deal was worked out to say, hey, we're not using all this metered water, and it's not running in your sewer, and we shouldn't have to pay X. And somehow there's an agreement worked out. Okay, yeah, we understand that, we see that. And there was an individual agreement worked out, and they call it fixed charges. And we have 3 of those customers. We have Hexion, we have Tyson, and we have Smith's Creek Cast products right there. So those are the 3 customers that do that. If you can see here, you may ask, well, why does Tyson not pay much? Well, Tyson, has their own treatment plant. They have their own treatment facility. And everything they use at their facilities to wash down in their manufacturing process and their processing process goes into a drain, and it does not come to the city. It goes to their own pond where they clean it and follow the rules and turn it back into the environment like they're supposed to. What comes to the city and why there's an agreement is I think their lavatories and their sinks and their water fountains and things of that nature, it does flow into the city. So at some point, somebody estimated what they felt like that was, and they made an agreement with Tyson that they would pay that much a month, and that's what they pay a month. And Hexion, of course, pays this much a month. So that's just an example of how the practical piece of the rates, and you can The other thing I wanted to mention in the law, you may know that we have sewage pipes that run outside the city, right? And some of them do. And we may let somebody hook on. They may be a Hope Water-like customer. If they are, then okay, then they're metered and no problem, no harm, no foul because they're metered. It all runs like this I just explained to you. But they may not be a Hope Water-like customer. And they may be somebody that has their own well, or maybe in some other rural water service. I'm not sure if that would be the case or not. But in that case, there is a caveat in our law that if you're not a metered user, no meter at all, period, none, then if you're a resident, we charge you 6,000 gallons. That's what you'll pay monthly, and that turns out to be $16.50 a month to be on our sewer. And that can help people because they want to be off their own septic tank, or maybe it's failing. I put in a septic tank not long ago. It cost me about $6,000 to put one in at my farm. Well, I can pay $16.50 a month, a lot, before I hit that $6,000 mark. So, that's sometimes it's just a no-brainer. Yeah, I'll pay that 6,000 gallons, and yeah, that's what we'll do. If you're a commercial user, then the minimum amount would be 26,000 gallons. That's a commercial, not factory or industrial, but just commercial and non-metered commercial. We'd charge you a minimum of 26,000. And then it says here in the law that all factory and industry users are required to be metered. So they are required to be metered. So I think, I hope I've explained and I provided you the law so you can take that home and read it in a separate packet from your agenda. If you want to read it yourself. I've talked to you about historical things that have developed that may not be conforming to the ordinance that we may need to address in some fashion, and maybe that would be getting Randy involved to see legally what we should do. And you have before you all the tables I gave to you, so hopefully that'll be helpful to you. The last thing I wanted to show you on this is if you could go to the sewer revenues and expenses. I just wanted to give you at least some idea. This is a 15-year. This is a 15-year comparison, and just jump down to the charts because it'll be more explanatory looking at numbers right here. So you can see since I went back to about 2008 through 2023. Here's our service fees that we're charging in the blue. And this is the total expenses. As you can see, they mimic each other, and as of late, the expenses have been more than our service fees. Now that's not, when I say service fees, that's not total revenue. That's just the service fees I just mentioned to you. The $10.50 debt service and the $2.75 per thousand. Wastewater may get some other fees. We do sewer tap fees. At most, they may make $1,000 a year. But we also have miscellaneous revenue. So miscellaneous revenue may be, hey, we wrecked a truck and we get proceeds from an insurance company. Well, that goes in that miscellaneous revenue. So I discount that when I look at the system, because the system should be driven off of the service fees. That's what should really drive our system. It should be enough to cover our debt service for the whole system, and it should be enough to cover our operating expenses. And so you can see this is really close, and this is a little in danger. If you'll go up again, Daryl. So this is total expenses, operating, debt service, and capital. You can see we started off back in 2008 in the $900,000 range, and now by 2023, our total expenses are somewhere in the nature of 1.4 to 1.45 million. That's over that time period, how costs have risen, and y'all know the costs have risen, buying things, employee costs, and then if you'll go up to the next one, that's just operating expenses. One more, buddy. That's right here. So I wanted to show you this because when you look at the total operating expenses, you may say, well, how much of that is salary? So salary and benefits is here. that's the salary and benefits portion, and the non-salary operating expenses is here. And this is probably historically, you can see historically, it's kind of run about that, and maybe a little wider more lately, because there's been a lot of pressure on employment, right? Back in the pandemic, you know, it was very difficult to find people to work, and you had to pay more, and it was that way all over the nation. So this is kind of the phenomenon we're seeing in the, and this is pretty close, when you can think pretty close that salary and benefits, not just salary, but salary and benefits, which include what we're gonna pay you, our retirement system, health insurance, and Social Security, Medicare, our company portion of that. That's what makes up that total. I don't think I left one out, did I? But that's what makes up the total portion. And that's gonna be pretty close to 53 to 60%. Somewhere, it's gonna be around I figure around a 60% number. And then the 40% is something we're gonna operate off of. I think this has been running leaner. I think I had a calculation somewhere. Go back the other way, Daryl. I think I calculated those percentages.
Way back up here.
Right in the numbers. One more, right there. Okay, go up to the header. Okay, right there. Salary as a percent of operating expenses, 57%, 54.5, 62, 57, 55. On average, since 2008, it's been about 56% of our costs. And what's over here? This is the operating expense ratio to service fees. So if we look at all operating expenses to our service fees, our operating takes up about 53% of all of our service fees, and our debt service takes up about 46% of our service fees. So I hope that gives you some explanation of the chart. You can take it home and look at it. It's meant to help give you a guide. I think these are good predictors of how the future will behave. You can even see perhaps some linear regression in that chart. And I think the trends are that these things are going to continue in kind of that direction. This upward sloping to the right of the graph. This is just the phenomena. This is where we are in reality. This is what exists. So with that, if you had any questions, I'll be glad to. I hope this wasn't too boring for you, but I wanted to make sure you had some understanding, and that I had some understanding. I learned as I studied more than I knew before, and it's very helpful.
Now, Tyson, is that the hatchery and?
No, the hatchery is metered, and it's pays. So this is Tyson out on the industrial park.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked Jody that question. I called Jody and had that same question.
So the residential, the apartments, so we're talking about, our residents who are living in housing, public housing, right? I mean, when you, are actually talking about the increase in charges. So that would affect them. What my question is that one that we're asking for the agency to absorb, or do the residents?
Well, right now, nobody's absorbing the water cost. The only people.
I know, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
But what you have given to us.
I haven't made a recommendation. I'm just
saying.
Yeah.
The information, I'm just trying to get it in my head.
Yes, ma'am.
So the information that you are allowing us to visit tonight, it is talking about if the agency or whomever picks up the charge.
Yes.
You know, it could be them in a way that the government would come and say, well, there's always that extra money that I'm aware of when looking at grants and what comes in. So that's what I was asking. So, but I can talk to you more about that, you know. But I do have a concern about that. Who would actually have to absorb that cost?
And I share that concern. It's a very vulnerable population.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making, and you're right. I agree with you. I'm just making the board aware.
Right.
That it's not does not conform to our existing statutory
Right.
language. Maybe we wanna write that into the language, maybe we just don't wanna do anything about it. It's really the board's decision, leave it alone. Or you may say, no, there's a cost here.
Yeah.
If we don't charge everybody, other people are gonna have to pay these costs. Because once we start building new things at the processing plant, putting in new lines, go to the new bond issues, all these costs get passed on, and it's gonna be fewer people to pass the cost on to.
When was the last year that the rate changed?
2021, so we had an escalated rate change between 2013 and 2021. You'll see the rate went up a little bit, and hey, I'll show them
In the base rate and the
no,
service?
yes, both.
Both.
Yes, it's in your packet in the ordinance I gave you, and in the first part of that ordinance, it will somewhere in there it has the second or the amending ordinance on the back.
Gotcha.
It'll have your 10-year right here.
Yeah.
It'll have how each thing went up. So, for example, in 2013, the base rate went from $9.30, and the OMR was $2. Then in 2014, it went to $10.25 and $2.25, $11.25 and $2.25. Oh, excuse me, I'm wrong. $2 and $7.30, $2.25 and $8, $2.25 and $9, $2.25 and $9.25. You can look right there, and it tells you how each thing. But today, we're at $2.75 and $10.50. That's the very bottom number. That's where we're at today, $2.75 and $10.50. And then that far left number, which is the total. I was reading that backwards.
Well, it's something we need to always look at. We've tried to, since we've been on board, to try to make each department carry its own weight. I've always wished we could get to the point where we could be putting some money back in each department for the rainy day, but it seems like we just barely keep up, and I'll get a little bit behind.
Go back to that number,
And I
with all the
certainly,
numbers. I have a checkbook, so they can see the checkbook.
I certainly would like for us to look at the fixed charges too and see if those are equitable.
It's
Yeah, so that one. If you go down, I think right there. So a lot of times I think if you think like me, I think, well, what kind of cash I got on hand? What's in my checkbook? There's the checkbook numbers. And I couldn't go back before 2016 because our new accounting system only goes back to 2016. So you can see what the checking account had it in 2016 and what it has today, or in 2022 at the end of 2022. And you can see what the CD is. We have a CD. You can see the total cash on hand off to the right. That's the cash we have to pay bills, make the thing work. That's got to pay everything as new money comes in, money's rolling out. And don't get confused by why did it go from 283 to 504 and 521. A lot of that had to do with insurance. We had a UV problem that had insured, and we had a filtering system that we just got. And so that number by now is already down to almost 400 and what? It was a little over 400 at current today. So we've already dropped 100,000. But if you're like me and I'm running a business that requires millions of dollars, and I'll just be honest with you, if we get on the wrong side of AD&Q, they can shut us down. They can fine us thousands of dollars a day until they can get as tough as they want to get on us. And if we're not prepared and thinking ahead, and we get behind this 8 ball, that's where we could really risk a problem for the city. Yeah, it's difficult to ask people to spend $20. I get that. It is difficult. The other side of that, if we get on the wrong side of the law, we'll be hurting. And we already know that all over this nation, it's an aging system. The news talks about it. Aging water, aging lines collapsing. We've already probably spent how much money this year just on collapsed lines? We had to do an emergency authorization. Y'all saw it come through. It was like $20,000 just a few weeks ago because we had to dig down 14 to 15 feet deep to get to the line. And that's very dangerous work and very costly work. And our equipment won't even reach it. So we have to bring in contractors to reach it. It is what it is. It's just a reality. The last thing I just want to tell you about this, the reason I brought this to you too, is the actual law requires the board to review these rates annually. It's actually stated in your city ordinance that you are to review these rates annually and make sure that the system is well funded so that the system can operate for the citizens. So we've met a check mark. We've covered the legal requirement for y'all to review these rates.
The deal, we never look forward to a rate change, but it's just something that has to happen every once in a while. So we'll probably be reviewing this in the next 6 months and seeing if we want to do something on it.
And I'll get you some more professional advice. Just to give you a quick, I talked to Jason Holtzclaw today with Stevens. Say for example, you said, JR, we want to do a bond issue right now. It'd be over a 25-year bond, somewhere between $5 to $10 million. Would be about 4.25% today on a municipal tax-free bond. He did tell me that they think that's going to drop later in the year. So they think there's some economic deflationary pressures that are coming. And so we'd love to see that down in the 3% range, right? We'd all love to see that. That may not happen, but they think later in the year that. So we may want to have I say all that to say we may want to just have all this information and be watching these interest rates and be ready to go maybe at the best time. But nobody can predict the future.
Do we have the numbers on the number of customers as well?
Yes, sir. If you'll scroll up, I'm sorry, it's not this one. It's the colorful one, the one with the categories.
I think it's in here too.
3,000 something, isn't it?
Yeah, it has each one. Okay, there it is. If you scroll up to the top, the customer column is that left column. So you see the residential customers.
Yeah, I'm talking about. I was just wanting to see the trend from.
Oh, the trends.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Are we adding people? Are we losing people? That's what I was wanting to see.
I don't have that. Russell, do you? But in terms of the water, just on the water usage, would you say over the last 10 years is it declining, staying steady, rising?
It's declining.
Okay, and about what
You
percentage?
also have to remember that our population in the city of Hope and the county of Hempstead County.
Right, that's what I was wanting to look at. Is
Yeah.
we got fewer people paying in.
That's right.
That's right.
So
And so that's going to raise the cost for the fewer. That's right. Yeah. Did you have a percentage? Do you know an idea? Okay. I'm sorry. I can get that from Jody or Charlotte or Russell's been helping me too, and we can get that information for you if you're interested in it.
Yeah, I think that would be good to have.
Is that something maybe you could get and email me? That'd be okay. Thank you.
And didn't Hope Water and Light have an increase as well during the time that we had our rate increase? Because I know we got a lot of complaints about the bills. So that would be helpful too if they're planning an increase.
But we don't do it at the same time.
Yes.
So actually, we probably did do the number of years that you had your increases. We went through one where I think we did incremental for 5 years. And as far as I know, we will also be doing a rate study this year.
yeah, we went from 20.
When did your rate increase end? What year? Was it?
I would hate to even
Okay.
guess, but I can get that to you.
See, our increase went from 13 to 21. I mean, it was a long period of gradually going up.
Yes.
All right, we'll study that at a later date. So, city manager's report.
I just wanted to let y'all know we've received 2 letters from ADEQ, the Department of Energy and Environment now. Their DEQ office, we had to do a disposal fee plan, first one I've done. We did those. I got with the people at ADEQ, got with Mark, we sat down and got them done. They've been turned in. We got a letter just after I turned those in, and all these letters say, hey, you got 30 days to get this done, this kind of thing. And this one was a little more substantive. Our landfill, this has to do with our landfill, and it's currently under a federal Environmental Protection Agency plan. Here's the plan we got to follow. Well, beginning this year, we have to fall under an Arkansas plan. And so really, Arkansas was sending us out a letter saying, hey, you've got to do X, Y, and Z. You got to get us this information. A lot of it I didn't understand, so I just connected with our Christ Engineers, our engineering firm, and they're helping me figure out, because sometimes you have to comply, and sometimes there's an exemption. They're helping me run through if we're exempt from some of this or not. So, and this came not from the Department of Environmental Quality, it came from a different department within Energy and Environment called the Office of Air Quality. So it's a little different things, but we're jumping through the hoops, and I should have a letter next week, and he's already submitted to the Office of Air Quality some of our information. He's looking into it. The other thing is Summer's been working on our RDOT contract. Have we got that done yet?
I got an email at 4 today.
Is it done?
It's done. I need you to look at it and then.
Okay. So we'll get Randy to look at the contract, and then the board has to approve the contract. So we'll do that at the next board meeting.
Everything's approved.
Oh.
The board already approved.
Oh, board already approved it?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll just let Randy look at it, we'll sign it, and we move on. And we're gonna get $90 an acre?
I believe that's what it was.
Okay, I think we get $90 an acre for mowing the interstate exchanges, and we get that for 6 times, right?
I believe the total number was right at 21,000. We'll get back for the year for all 6 mowing.
Very nice. Last year, we didn't get anything, we paid it off.
Yeah.
That's very nice. So really good job, Summer, on that, and working with RDOT to make this happen. I know you've been working on it since January or December.
Yes.
Been working on it a long time. The wonderful and great Natasha Riley Davis is going to be resigning. She's agreed to stay on until we can find somebody to take her position, but I understand she's got entrepreneurial ambitions, and she has her CPA, and she's a professor at a college. Is that correct? Professor is the word?
Well, instructor, but.
Instructor
She'll
at,
take
at
it.
SAU. She passed her CPA the first time. That's just fantastic. Highly intelligent woman,
Go girl.
and we will miss her greatly. But hopefully that may be a little bit until we can find the right person. And thank you for your willingness to stay with us until we can do that. It was brought to my attention that Ritter Communication may not be paying our franchise fee as required under the law. When I found that information, I was able to get in touch with the legal compliance department of Ritter. I forwarded them our city ordinance. They're doing a study to see what they have to comply with and how much back money they owe us. And so as we work through these negotiations, and I'll get Randy to help me if we run into problems, and I'll let you know when that's settled and how it got settled, and we'll move on from there. And we may come to you at some point. I had some recommended language for those kind of ordinances coming from the municipal league. They had put together some, everything's new, and our ordinance kind of talks about it in older terms. But we can look at that ordinance. I'll get with Randy on that, and maybe we may want to consider beefing that ordinance up a little bit to include some other terminology. I wanted to let you know Daniel Suttles Trucking approached me. They would like to purchase, really, but lease is what's probably going to end up having to happen. They'd like to purchase or lease. Purchase would be the preference, but lease is okay. We own 3.5 acres right beside their facility. They would like to expand their parking lot to park trailers on, additional trailers. They're doing a lot more trucking business. That land is part of the FAA deed of covenants. We have to follow the FAA compliance rules. So I got with Daryl, and we've talked to Sarah Fields Pack, which is our airport representative for Oklahoma and Arkansas. And so what we have to do to lease it, she just basically was very upfront with me. The FAA is not going to approve you to sell it. We want you to lease it. She's just very upfront with me. We want you to lease it. That's what they're going to approve. So with that going forward, I've told Dana, the guy Marty Porter. I talked to Marty and told Marty, I said, look, this is probably what's going to end up having to happen. I think they'll agree to that. And but we have to get, the first thing we have to do is get them to release the land for a non-aeronautical use. We get that released. Daryl's talked to her. I've talked to her. We think that'll go fairly quickly. And then once we do that, we don't have to have any more permissions to lease it. We can just lease it, but we have to follow a compliance manual that FAA has online, and it has to be whatever's in our restrictions. We have to pass on how you got to follow these restrictions. If we wanted to sell it, that'd be a whole big effort, and Katie's very upfront. It's just probably not going to happen. You'd spin your wheels for several years. Nothing would ever happen. But I think Dana Suttles is willing to lease the property on, and it's got to be done at fair market value. So we'll have to figure out what the fair market value is for 3.5 acres. New board pictures up. I hope you saw them in the hallway right out there. We have your old pictures. They were here on the for you to take home. Except for Steve's, we got one for him, but we're going to put one up on the mayor's wall for Steve, who is our former mayor. I thought the pictures turned out real nice. Daryl, Austin, and I toured the airport. It looks really good out there. I hope you get a chance to go out there and look. It really looks pretty. Both of our batting cages are up and functioning. Both batting cages are up and functioning now. The dirt around the cage has been
Washed away.
well. We have shaped it so it can take the grass. The problem we have now is we can't get the sod from Fulton because it's too wet for them to cut it. So yes, it may wash away before we get the grass. We have to come back and reshape. But it may cut a few grooves. We have to reshape it. It won't be a hard thing to reshape, and we'll get that done as quickly as possible. The only thing we lack at the Pocket Park is still a bench that covers our RPZ, and I'm about to pull my hair out over this bench. I think Summer's about to pull her hair out, and if we don't get some movement soon, we're just going to go to a local contractor and say, build us this. We're going to put a bench on top of it and move on. And but I think eventually we're going to get this done. Jeremy really wants to do it. I've communicated with him. This is taking too long, and he assures me he wants to get this done for us. We'll see how that goes. I just want you to know I'll be out of the office from April 12th through the 16th. I'm going to the Arkansas City Managers Association in Little Rock and meet with other city managers. It's all run through the league. Some education, some discussions, and just mentoring. And then on that Friday, I have to be in Dallas at an IECP, International Chiefs meeting in Dallas, where I sit on a firearms committee, and we do research and study on firearm violence in the United States, and we recommend positions to the executive board of the IECP, and those can be a lot of different things. Daryl, two other things. Bad news talk about the streetscape project a minute. A little bad news on the lighting poles. We were able to get the lighting poles to match. We got that worked out. And yes, we can put electric sockets in the top of them. They want $65,000 to add those electrical outlets. And the reason they want that is they're saying they're going to run their own circuit on all 34 poles so you can control those lights. And they'll put in, to me, it's just too much money. We can try to cut this down. I can say, look, if y'all don't want it on all 34 poles, hey, what would it take us just to do down 2nd Street? If y'all want me to ask those questions, I can try to figure that out. I can even ask them, look, why do they have to be on their own circuit? Why can't we steal the power from what the light works on and run it up there? I think that's what we did in some other ones downtown. That's what we did on the sign at the Pavilion Park. I'm not an electrician. But they have this design where it'd be all on its own circuit, controlled by circuit breakers, and you could cut off just those plugs, and they'd put them on. Oh, and that doesn't include them being on solar, so they'd be on all the time. So anybody could just come plug into it and be on it. But if you want it on solar, it's an additional $2,000 something. And then it would come on, the power would come on with the sun or go off with the sun. It's really what y'all want me to look into. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you about one other problem, and this is a legitimate problem that I've already authorized. I think it's within my spending authority. We ran into a problem where we're laying some sidewalk right where you pull into the B&R's facility, B&R Building Supply, right on the backside.
On B&R?
Yeah, not B&R, I'm sorry, Home Builders. Yeah, I'm sorry. Home Builders Depot. When you turn into
They're not downtown.
that back part, our walkway crosses there, and when we were digging there, water just comes in there. You can see it pumping in. And we went to digging down, trying to find what's causing this water. We found 2 or 3 different kinds of pipes. One was about an oak clay pipe about this big, and obviously somewhere it used to run water off and run all the way down to Pine Street. When we examined all those pipes, they're all completely clogged. So it's just water seeping in, saturating all the dirt and stuff in there. It's not really being used as a water through, but the water's leaking back out of where those old concrete pipes come together at the bale houses. It's going to be a problem if we build a sidewalk there and it stays wet. It's going to collapse. So what we agreed to do with the engineer, I got with the engineer, we got with the contractor, we all agree, got with street department, look at it, got with our inspector to look at it. We all agree we need to dig those out, put select fill in there, tamp it down, get it dry, and then lay our sidewalk. We talked to John Odom about it. He was there as well. We've talked to everybody I think we need to, but that additional cost was $5,800, and I think that's within the ordinance allows me to spend up to a certain amount of money, and I told him to go ahead and do that change order, and let's get going. But it had to be done.
Did you say 65?
$65,000 if we want to put all the electric plug-ins at every light pole. So if you want to do Christmas decorations or whatever.
You know, we do have the plugs in downtown, but they're just running off the lights.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility of doing that?
Well,
Could you
I
ask
think
him
so.
to- Could you ask him
Yes.
to?
And he's already told me he's going to get back with our engineer is going to get back with his electrical expert, not just their contractor's electrician, and see if we can do this differently. They've really put in a complicated circuit,
Yeah.
dedicated circuit just for that, separate from the lights. And I think they're having to run all that wire everywhere on the ground, so that's what's causing the price to go up. So I think we can. I think we can. Practically, I think we can, but again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I did want to just one more thing, if you might. Daryl did get a price on something y'all asked him to get a price on. And then we'll be done.
Yeah, the FEMA buildings.
Yeah.
We authorized one to sell surplus, and you wanted to kind of know, Jeremy got me a number of what it would be to tear it down, move it, re-erect it, put metal on it, build the foundation, blah, blah, blah. And it's a 50 by 235 foot. If you use the full thing, 11,000, almost 12,000 square feet. $156,000 was his estimate. So I'm just passing that on, and it would store. We figured up almost 20 pieces of equipment we've got down there that most of them just sit outside right now. And so, and you know that, and their you know costs. Maybe we're going to do a little bit of the dirt work to offset some, but that he already took out any dirt work that's done over at the shop. The city's doing. So.
That's bare bones.
That's bare bones. No, he talked about putting some doors on the ends, which wasn't in this, and I said we're just going to leave that sucker open. There's no point in putting roll-up doors. I mean, it's not keep. You know, we're just trying to keep the rain off of them and the sun, basically.
And that's no electrical.
Yeah, no electrical or anything like that. That's just the building with the metal on it and all that.
How much would just a new metal building cost?
That size would be pretty expensive.
$500,000.
But I wouldn't trust this $150,000 number, because when you get to the contractor, I just have not seen anything come in on engineers' expectations. I think that's been y'all's experience too. But we could, if you want us to keep this number in mind, and we can work on this for the next budget cycle if you want us to. If y'all tell us today, hey, let's consider this at the next budget, we'll get this in and we'll consider doing
And
it.
we can break it into pieces, tear it down and move it, and then build foundation second year, re-erect it third year, and then skin it fourth year or something like that. You know, I mean, and have little pieces of it, so maybe it's not such a.
What's the value of the 20 pieces of equipment you could store in it? I mean, are you talking about
Million.
We're talking about
mowers? Are you talking about
we're
dump
talking about
trucks?
6 garbage trucks,
Several
3
million.
dump trucks.
And that's what I
leaf
was trying to
machine.
get to. Is
Yeah.
You're talking, I don't know, $6-7 million.
Yeah, several million.
There's some- and there's some equipment, yeah, there's some equipment that you don't use all the time, and it's just sitting down out.
Oh, it just
out
sits there.
in the weather all the
Excavator
time.
might just sit there for a while. Bulldozer, loaders,
Yeah, and it's just sitting out in the weather.
and you know, we have very little storage down there. We have 2 or 3 bays that are small. We can't even get barely a tractor in it.
Yeah.
So
It would definitely be a valuable thing for the
It would be,
equipment.
I
no
tell
doubt
you.
about it.
it'd be valuable, and unfortunately, you know, I mean, whatever we sell that other building for, that money stays in the airport. So, which we could utilize some of that storage for airport stuff, and then the airport could contribute maybe. So, you know, it's like we did on the bulldozer, and split that cost.
So if y'all want us maybe to consider this from your next budget and bring it back to you?
I would just to see what the numbers are.
Okay.
And it's, okay, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Gerald.
I just had a question on the 6th Street project. I didn't know if they were still working or.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Believe me, I called Mr. Cheatham, and he called me back. I got a voicemail from him. I didn't get a chance to call him back again, but he's disappointed. I'm disappointed. That crew is all down on Patmos Road still, doing something down on Patmos Road, and
Okay.
we're just in this. He's not happy with it. I'm not happy with it. That's where we are. So hopefully when they get that project done wherever it's at on Patmos Road, maybe they'll get their crew up here and start working on ours.
What is it on Patmos?
I'm not sure. Do anybody know what's
Must be
going
something
on?
with the county if it's on Patmos.
Oh yeah, it's somewhere out on Patmos Road somewhere. That's what
Way out
William was telling me.
down.
Must be way out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's some bridge or, well, I don't know.
All right, any other comments from the board?
We don't have any recourse, any penalties.
It
So,
does-
yes,
It
and-
does kick in.
And Randy knows more about this than I do. He can tell you liquidated damages are in the contract, but Judge, my understanding, it's very hard to collect unless you can show you've actually had a loss. And I went through one of those negotiations.
When those change orders come in and those numbers.
Yeah, so if change orders come in, that may can show a loss, or if inspectors have to charge you a lot more money because they're on site a lot more, or if engineering fees go up because, hey, we expected it to be this time, you got our engineers tied up, and we were able to collect on one from the city that I know of, but yeah, it's difficult unless you can show monetary damages.
I remember from the pre-construction that basically, if you take out all they're not even required to work right now. You know, there's certain time frames. It's like it can go 2 years.
Yeah, so
Without
there's
any penalties is what the highway department. said.
I'm not sure exactly what's in that contract because I haven't read it.
Yeah.
But there's generally a time frame, and then after that, they can be charged liquidated damages at a certain amount a day.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard to collect that unless you can show monetary damages to your. If you're not hurt, they may not let you collect it, even if you tried to sue over it. It's my understanding if you can't show that you were damaged, they probably won't let you.
They're not gonna do it voluntarily.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to force them, so that's what, about 2 years.
yeah.
All right. Any other citizen request? Anybody got anything they'd like to bring before the board? Okay.
I would.
All right. Just come up and state your name and glad to have you.
My name is Edmundo Dominguez. I'm currently the assistant soccer coach at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
I would like for the board to, if y'all could do some improvements to the soccer fields. I believe there hasn't been done nothing to it probably the past, I would say 20 years since they were made. They used to be a drainage that would go between all 4 soccer fields. Now, if we get to, maybe like tonight, we get flooded or, like a massive flood or massive rain, there's no way you can get on the fields.
Okay.
It might take a couple, I would even say weeks. The park has this issue with maintaining the field year round. And I think something like that would be beneficial for the maintenance of the field year round. Also, something else that I know I've summer, which I've been working for the past probably 8 years, has brought about the soccer field lights.
Yeah.
They're always a mess,
Yeah.
and they're still a mess. Right now, the only way you can actually use the lights at the soccer fields is by turning all 4 fields lights.
I've noticed that when I drive by. You got them
Yes.
all on.
You have to have them all on. If you're using one field, you cannot see with only 2 poles working at a time. You have about 1 or 2 working at each pole. I think we only have one that is fully functional by itself. And we save it for like game days, which are we usually play on Sundays or in the afternoons, just to keep the surface of the field in good conditioning. That's something that would be beneficial, not just for me that I run the adult league, but also for the little kids that we run from September to October. It always gets, a lot of games get canceled, and there's no room to make them up. I've heard from a couple of parents, they always get upset that, they're paying their fees and all that stuff, and then their promise is, we're gonna play 10 games. Out of those games, we might play 4 or 6. And there's no room to make them up. And I think that would be beneficial for the city if we could get at least 2 soccer fields running full year round. I think we can host tournaments. We think in 2016 we hosted the state soccer tournament here. We didn't get good reviews because their fields were in terrible condition because of the rain the whole week before the state tournament. So they were bad, But I think we can bring that back when we have decent soccer fields. But that's all I had to say, and I wish we can get some improvements to the soccer fields soon.
One thing we're working on is putting new lights at one of the fields, and we're gonna try to replace all the lights that are out on the soccer fields. We wanna put new lights there, but that's in the works. But we're gonna replace all the bulbs that are out once we take them off of Kelly. And that should happen by Watermelon Festival. Is that still online?
We're hoping.
We're hoping. They said, we talked today, you said there's about 12 weeks, we think, to get.
I talked to them yesterday, they said materials be about 12 weeks to deliver materials, but that don't mean they'll start in 12 weeks.
So it's in the works. We're gonna replace the bulbs first, and then we're gonna start working on putting new
Well, the
lights.
problem was they put light poles out there that we didn't have any way to replace them.
Too tall.
They were taller than anything that we had to reach them. Because I've been with you. I mean, my kids have played on those soccer fields too, and it's terrible. But
Yeah.
Yes.
we got light poles out there that we can't change the lights.
That's true. And I've been around enough that I don't think all the light bulbs are bad. I think it's the wiring.
It's electrical.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy how the fields are. I guess is the land. Some places it's like we can go right now, and it's soaking wet, and then other parts it's cracking. It's so dry.
Mm-hmm. Is there bowls like formed where water stands?
Well, I got some pictures. I don't know if that would work. You can see how bad they get.
Oh, yeah.
Have a fishing
Yeah.
tournament out there.
Just the
Yeah.
dirt over time is just
Yes.
Wash,
This one's not good, but you can see it started built and it doesn't go nowhere.
Easy to slide.
This one is not good. This one's taken from last year. You can see it. I had to go personally mow because the city couldn't get it with the machine. You could see I had different calls if we could actually get somebody to make hay out of the soccer fields because it took like 4 months to get in the fields where the city could get in the fields to mow the fields.
that way.
And then after that, it was so dry that no matter how much water or how much rain we would get, it was so dry that the fields were cracking and all this stuff.
So that may be another, we talked about the project, doing a large
Capital
project where maybe we do some turf stuff. Is that, with doing some turf stuff, in your opinion at least, you run soccer tournaments and you big in soccer, would that be a positive thing or not a positive thing?
I think it would be a positive thing in the form that we could be able to play year round, as long as there's no lining, nothing major. If it's raining, you could play because the fields should stay in a decent condition. Because I guess when was last year? 2012, I think was the last year that the school used the soccer fields before they got the turf. Now we just cancel games or switch days at the high school just due to weather, like lightning or all severe weather.
Yeah.
But other than that, the field's always ready to play. Mm-hmm. And you would save in paint having maintenance so much the fields. Because right now with our wonderful weather at home, you have to mow it pretty much once a week. And so I know the park has so many facilities to take care of, and it's really hard when you have games every Sunday, and sometimes the grass is so tall, sometimes it's not, the maintenance is not up to date per week.
Is there anything that can be done immediately for drainage?
We could definitely look at it, and there'd be some costs, either bringing in dirt or reshaping the ground, whatever that would take. But once we do that, you have to put sod back over it. It'd probably be very expensive. The high school baseball field, what was that cost to the high school?
$125,000.
And that was an outfield and infield.
Yeah.
And this is a larger field.
Yeah, soccer fields are.
What would you say is the number one priority to make an improvement?
I think the drainage. Somehow, I've talked to different people that work or like doing concrete around, and they said that it could be done. Real, I won't say simple, but it could be done quickly, especially right now where it's getting wet, where they can see where it has to go. I would have to talk to them a little more, see if they could. The last time I talked to that person, he said he had the machinery. I would just have to have approval from the city, and he could do it.
So if we put something out for him to bid, he would be willing to bid on doing a project like that?
Yes.
So you just work on one field at a time? Because if we did all the fields, you wouldn't have anywhere to play because there wouldn't be any dirt. Because it needs to be rounded.
Yes, so it can run. Our biggest, like if you would make me choose, I would, I don't know if you ever, their fields are numbered.
Yeah.
So I would request for field 1 to be worked on, and then go from there. Because that's our main field. That's our better
backfield.
The one by the skateboarding.
Yeah, right there in the front. Yeah.
Yes, it's close to the concession
When the
stand.
Cats used to play on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be our best. And you can see the picture of how flooded it get. That's the picture of that one, because that's the field we use the most, because it's always in, I would say, in better shape.
If we're always talking about softball tournaments and bringing them in. If we did, I always think if we did a lot of field work, we could probably have tournaments of once a month there, don't you think?
I think so. Right now, I run what we call it Sunday leagues. It's play on Sunday. Right now we have from in town. I have a team from all the way from Little Rock coming down. I got one from Texarkana. And then I have people coming, just 1 or 2 or 3 players coming from all the way from Pleasant, D Queen, Arkadelphia. So all around, and I have 8 teams, 8 to 10 teams. I think in the tournament, if you promote it good, you know, a lot of teams just look for a quality field to play on. I think we can bring at least 12, maybe up to 20 teams in a weekend.
And I agree with that. Teams are looking for quality fields,
You know,
whether it's soccer or softball or baseball.
and everybody's shooting for this softball. Maybe we need to think about going another way and doing soccer instead. Because everybody's
Or
getting
both in our big project.
That's true.
And I know from just, you know, going around, we do have some of the best facilities to play soccer. It's just our fields or not. Because you go to, you know, Nashville, you don't have a lot of parking lot. You know, you go to Texarkana, I think Texarkana probably has the best one around. But they spend so much. They have, you know, a club team. They have travel ball. They have they have an actual association where you probably have like over 1,000 kids playing year round. Here we probably, I think on average, we get about 200, 300 kids every fall.
That's great.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Which, if we can do it twice a year, I think we can. And I know a lot of parents have brought it up to me that we should do it twice a year, especially, you know, during the spring. I know a lot of the stuff, you know, intervenes with other sports, but I think it would be beneficial for the kids that are not doing nothing right now for the community.
Summer, do we have any of those lights that can be replacing those now?
Now that we finally found the truck, yes, we just
Okay.
can't get the truck on the field right now, so.
So as soon as we can get the truck on the field,
Yeah.
we can put lights in and see if it's a light problem or a wiring problem. Because if they screw in and turn on and work,
Which field do you want us to concentrate on? Right now, I notice y'all playing on the back one right now.
Yes, we're playing on the back
Yeah.
one because we moved up there just to let the bottom one rest. Because we
Okay.
were playing it, we probably played for the past, I guess, 2 years on it, and it was just,
grass is all gone.
yeah, it was gone. But I would like field one.
Okay, for the lights, try to get lights.
And
going on
which
first.
the lights are, I think they're just, like I said, some of them, that one might be the bulbs, because there's, I think all 4 poles work. You just have some, and like I said, sometimes they come on, sometimes they don't. So that's why I'm coming back to it. It might be an electrical issue.
Short, yeah.
Okay, all right, well, we'll work on that, and I appreciate you coming, I really do, because when it's in full action down there, it's something to see.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Edmundo, right?
Yes.
He's also the one that put in the bid for the concession stand.
Yes.
If y'all didn't catch on to
Yeah,
that.
I did.
And Summer, you were bragging about Mr. Edmundo the other day.
Oh, yeah, he's been great, he helps us at the soccer field, like he says, all the time. Our Little League program down there, he finds all of our referees, if we're running short on time, he helps us paint fields, and he does it voluntarily. So, I mean, I love having him down there, because we don't have to worry about it, and like he said, if you drive out on Sundays, you can't get in that parking lot.
No.
I mean, he's brought a bunch of people to Hope, so.
Appreciate it.
Good volunteer, good citizen.
Okay, well, we'll work on that. Keep coming back.
All right, I will. Appreciate it.
The
Thank you,
barking
board.
dog gets the bone, that's the way it goes. Okay, I appreciate it. Anyone else to, visit with us tonight? No, we're adjourned.